Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast. Time to hashtag everything. We talk about all the fun, crazy stories on social media. From Instagram to Facebook, Twitter to Tumblr, or probably even Friendster. Join us each week as we explore the quirky side of social media. It's the Golden State Media Concepts social media podcast.
It's simple, such a sad song. The one that we rely on to get us.
Thank you for tuning in to GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I am your host, Shamaria Jackson, and we have a lot of social media points that we are going to hit today, from quarantine snacks to new social media updates and everything in between. But first, we're going to dive into the coronavirus. The coronavirus is a large family of viruses that can cause illnesses from the common cold to something more severe, such as pneumonia. The coronavirus can also be transmitted between humans and animals. So what is the best way to prevent the coronavirus? It's very simple. You wash your hands regularly, you cover your nose and your mouth when you're coughing or sneezing, you cook your food thoroughly, and you avoid confined spaces with 10 or more people. So between people buying up all of the toilet paper and water and food and cleaning supplies and hand sanitizers, as well as public fights and displays of greed, no surprise that retailers began cutting hours. And on top of that, they are now shutting their doors temporarily. So just recently, Nike and Apple has announced that they are temporarily closing their doors until March 27th. The sister company announced on Sunday, March 15th, that they will be closing all of their stores, not only in the United States, but in Canada, New Zealand, Australia, and Western Europe. Some more companies that has also joined the temporary closing trend is Abercrombie & Fitch, Urban Outfitters, LL Bean, Levi and Levi Outlets, Madewell, as well as their parent company, J. Crew, Vans, Under Armour, Lululemon, Lush Cosmetics, and Bath & Body Works. And those are only some of the companies that have said to close their doors temporarily. But these stores are said to open back up at the latest of March 29th. That could either change or it can stay the same. But there's no need to worry. All of the companies plan on paying their staff during this temporary shutdown. I feel personally like this is a double-edged sword. And I'm looking at it from the business standpoint, and I'm looking at it from a personal standpoint. So, I'm looking at it from a business standpoint because I'm looking at it as, in the future, will this end up hurting employees more? And here's why. So when these companies close temporarily, this is going to show up as a negative standpoint on their sales goals. Okay, so that could result in either less hours or the cutting of hours, or the cutting of people in general. So if someone is cutting hours, that could mean less money for an employee, and that could also mean that could go into something more severe. So let's say a company comes in and they're like, hey, you cannot work for the next 3 days. And that might be their only job. This retail job might be their only job. So now they're going to have to figure out what bill can I pay the minimum on, and will I be able to go from there? So like, let's say they can pay some of their car note and they can pay their utilities and rent, but let's say they don't have enough money to put food on their plate or to put gas in their tank. So now they have to decide, okay, do I want gas in my tank or do I want food in my belly? And I mean, in order to get to work, you have to have gas in your tank, but in order not to fall out at work, you have to be able to eat. So now you're trying to distinguish which one should I do. So that's the negative side of things. Going into the positive side of things, I personally like, that the CEOs sat down and thought about not only their customers, but their employees as well. Some of these employees are going to go home to people who might have a vulnerable immune system. And those 3 groups of people would be newborn babies, cancer patients, or the elderly. And I'm going to paint a picture for you really quickly. Let's just say that you have a customer that would come in and they have no idea, that they have the coronavirus. So let's just say that the customer comes in and they buy something and they pay it with cash, right? So they come in, they hand that employee or that cashier some cash, therefore spreading the coronavirus. And that person who has that cashier who has that newborn baby at home, they now have corona and they're sending their newborn with corona, So I love the fact that they're taking this seriously. They're saying we care about our customers and we care about our family. Their family being these employees. So stay home and stay safe. I personally like that. At the same time, we also have to look at everything else that's going on. What about people who work at overnight facilities, such as retirement homes? A lot of elderly people will not be able to see their families come and visit. What about the people who work at hospitals who are at the forefront of these coronaviruses? What about people who work at airports? What are they going to do? What about people who work in prisons? Let's just say that someone does have corona and they have no idea. For instance, Idris Elba, he announced that he had corona on March 16th, and that was a Monday, and he didn't even know he had it simply because he did not have any of the symptoms. So let's just say that a prison guard goes into work, does not even know they have corona, and they give it to a prisoner. They're saying don't be in confined spaces with 10 or more people, but prisons and jails all are confined spaces. How are they protecting them? Because prisoners are people. At the end of the day, they are people. So what are the resources? What are they doing to ensure that nobody there is catching corona? At the same time, we also have to ask ourselves, what can we do to help ourselves during this time as well to ensure that everyone is, healthy? Socially, we have noticed that there is a lack of empathy that is going on as well. And I'll dig into that a little bit more, but people are afraid to talk to other people because they're afraid to take corona. To get corona. Physically, a lot of people cannot go to gyms to work out this aggression because a lot of gyms have closed their gym facilities. Mentally, we are becoming more anxious. Our people are becoming more anxious about the catching of corona, which a lot of people are stressing out about, therefore making our immune systems more vulnerable to viruses. Therefore, there's a more increase of it spreading. And then emotionally, this is all just so overwhelming. It's an overwhelming topic, and I'm talking about it right now, but it's so sad to say this, but you're seeing it everywhere. You're seeing it when you first log on to your phone. You're seeing it when you first wake up in the morning, and you're seeing it when you go to work. So I feel like, again, this is another boss move by these CEOs by giving these employees time to just stay at home and breathe. You're going to stay at home, and I know this can be overwhelming, but just giving you that option to just calm down, especially with everything that's going on. And this is very overwhelming, and I feel like that's another reason why these CEOs looked at it at different standpoints and said, this is an overwhelming topic. So we are going to try our best to just make sure the safety of our customers and our employees are good. And it's so deep. It's deeper than any of us has ever known. And we're going to take a short break, but coming up, social media has officially created a new dance and a song just to lift our spirits up during this dark time. So we're going to find out what that is when I return.
Do you want to be healthier, yet you just don't know what to do? All these shows telling you this and that, but nothing seems to work. Well, listen close. Golden State Media Concepts has got something great for you. The Health and Wellness Podcast dedicated to workout trends, healthy eating habits, diet, and everything about healthy living. Join us in our banters as we help you not just live life to the fullest, but live it to the healthiest.
Segment, we were talking about the global takeover of the coronavirus and how this virus has affected us as a society, how it has affected us socially, mentally, emotionally, and physically. But I wanted to switch gears a little bit to talk about how social media has begun to make light of this dark situation. From new dances to songs and quarantine jokes, there's a recommendation for the most recommended quarantine snacks. Like, I'm just not kidding. On Twitter, there is a full thread on the best snacks that you should have in your quarantine space. So we're going to talk about the top recommended quarantine snacks that they recommended. They recommended Doritos, Little Debbie's, Pepsi, ranch sunflower seeds, Pop-Tarts, Ritz crackers, Cheetos, peanut butter M&Ms, and almonds. And I actually have some of those in my little cabinet. I have peanut butter cookies from Kroger. If you guys know the 16 count peanut butter cookies, they are amazing. They are soft. It is like the perfect blend. Oh my goodness. There's also fruit snacks, Cheez-Its, granola, tangerines, burritos, and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. Because I feel like everyone should have peanut butter and jelly sandwiches in their cabinets, like most definitely. But there's also a list of things that people should do while they're in quarantine. Like, people are saying that they're bored and there's nothing to do. And I honestly have to admit that I was feeling the exact same way. I was like, there is nothing for me to do. I am so bored. And I didn't realize it until one of my friends brought it up to me. She said, there's so much you can do. You're just so used to being on the go that it's hard for your brain to relax. This is foreign to you. It's crazy how we're so used to running that when people tell us to stop, it's foreign. It's foreign for us to relax. So there's so many things that is recommended that you could do while you're in quarantine. You can spring clean. You can do something that you have been putting off. You can spend time with your family. You can binge watch on Netflix. Like, this is a thing. Netflix has created a Netflix partying option on Netflix, so where you can watch movies and stuff. You can get more sleep. You can do some yoga. You can work on your breathing exercises. As someone who has anxiety, I recommend, if you suffer from anxiety, I recommend that you download an app called Calm, C-A-L-M, and that gives you a breathing option to where it stabilizes your breathing, and you can fully take your breath and then have your brain slowly just digest everything and just get back into the groove of things. Mentally, you can set positive affirmations. You can get back into reading. You can watch a movie, like I said, on Netflix. Emotionally, you can create something that you've never wanted to create, that you've always wanted to create, but you've never had time. So like, let's say you wanted to get back into writing, but you haven't because you didn't have enough time. Now you do. Now you can get back into writing. Now you can learn how to meditate if you want. Another thing that my friends laughed at me about was I randomly said, hey, let's create vision boards. And at first they were like, no, we're not creating vision boards. What is wrong with you? And then like not even 10 minutes later, they came in with magazines and poster boards. We created vision boards and they're now in our den. This is a thing, okay? And so we created vision boards, but we've noticed that a lot of people on Twitter were creating dances. So the Rona dance, I kid you not, the Rona dance has begun to grace us on social media along with a song called, you guessed it, the Rona song. So we have people who put on protective gear such as a suit, goggles, gloves, slippers, and a mask, and you dance. And for extra points, you spray disinfectant spray. So a lot of these people do not even have protective gear on. They just put on a mask or they just dance. It's simple. And then with the new Rona song, it makes it like all the better. Cardi B recently came out on Instagram. She was saying coronavirus, it's getting real, because this is before all of this hit the fan. And so someone took what she was saying, cut it into snips, and then remixed it with music and beats on top of her voice. So I want you to imagine Cardi B basically saying, coronavirus, it's getting real. I cannot try to imitate Cardi B's voice because I cannot. And we're not going to try that, but I want you to try to do that and just see it, or just going and looking it up. It is hilarious. So you have all of these people dancing and having fun. Also, Megan Thee Stallion, she's also starting to trend because she came out with an album last week, and it's not really an album, it's more of a mixtape, but a lot of people are calling it an album. Anyway, on the album, there's a soundtrack on there. There's a track on there, and it's called Savage, and people has even made that into a dance. So this shows you that although the corona has become a downer, there's people out there that is trying to show some kind of light in this situation. There's an understanding, that this is a real situation, but there's also an understanding that there has to be some type of joy. Okay? If you focus too much on the negative, everything around you will soon follow. So you have to have some type of glimmer, some type of light, some type of happiness to show people that there is a light. This is just a tunnel, but there is a light, meaning pretty soon we're going to get out of this. Maya Angelou once said that after a storm, there's going to be some type of light somewhere. So why not show people that type of light now, especially if times are just so dark and times are so gloomy? Like I said, on Twitter, people are just entertaining us, just just entertaining us. And again, you can also do some things that you have been putting off for a while, whether that's sleeping or reading a hardcover book. Like I said before, it is so easy for us to not read, actually physically sit down and read. Or if you want, like I said, you can go on Twitter and you can look at feeds of people dancing and having fun, or doing things to entertain themselves and entertaining you as well. And pretty soon, this is going to become a thing that benefits not only influencers, but it's also going to benefit, celebrities as well. And speaking of Twitter, coming up after the break, stories versus fleets. Do you know what it is? Not a lot of people do. But we're going to talk about what it is and how it can affect your Twitter experience coming up right after the break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
Welcome back. For those of you just now tuning in, this is GSMC's Social Media News Podcast, and I am your host, Shamaria Jackson. Before the break, we were talking about stories versus fleets and how it could affect your Twitter experience. But before that, we were talking about how people on Twitter has created some entertainment to help those that are in quarantine because of the coronavirus. So right now, I wanted to kind of switch on a different side of news because the coronavirus is big, but we don't want to just focus on the coronavirus, right? There's so many other things going on. So I wanted to talk a little bit more about how Twitter has created kind of something similar to stories, but they're saying it's something totally different. But this is what happened. Twitter announced its own version of stories, but in no way, shape, or form is it a story. It's a fleet. This is how it works. Users will see a new rounded profile icon at the top of their Twitter feed, or if your connections has posted, they will appear in their own rounded bubble, which sounds a lot like stories from Instagram and Snapchat and Facebook. But according to Kayvon Beckpour, who was the CEO and co-founder of Periscope, he wrote on Twitter, quote, "There are a lot of similarities, but there are also a lot of intentional differences to make the experience more focused on sharing and seeing people's thoughts," end quote. So Fleets provides users with a way to share without it being overtly public. Fleets lets the content disappear after 24 hours. They cannot be retweeted, liked, or replied to in public, but people can react via DM. And they do not appear in timelines, but they will be accessible on user profiles. Here's my opinion about the whole thing. I feel like it's just like Instagram with minor changes. I feel like Twitter is following the trend, which is nothing wrong with following a trend that is popular. There's nothing wrong with that. What I personally am seeing is I feel like it's Twitter basically copying someone else's homework, switching up like one or two things, and then trying to change the name. And that's kind of it. Twitter has always said that, they're trying to not follow the trends that every other app is doing. So we see that first Snapchat was doing stories, then Instagram followed, and then Facebook followed. And so Twitter has kind of always been like, they're not doing that. They're not ever planning on adding stories to their app. And I mean, you plainly see the stories that they've added to their app, but they're refusing to call it a story. They're calling it a fleet. So right now I wanted to kind of digest and see if maybe there is something that is different. So first off, like I said before, it says that Fleets provides users with a way to share without it being overtly public. That might be, something that's different. Instagram, when you do create a story, it does become public. So if someone searches your name and they click on your profile, they will get to see, what your story is said, especially if it's set on public. The next one is Fleets lets the content disappear after 24 hours. Instagram does the exact same thing, Facebook does the exact same thing, and Snapchat does the exact same thing. Next up is they cannot be retweeted, liked, or replied to in public, but people can react via DM. I feel like people are going to find a way to retweet what someone said because they can easily screen record something. You can easily screen record anything. We have seen that with Snapchat. People can screen record it. They might not be able to like something, but they can definitely screen record it and then retweet it out. As far as being replied to in public, I feel like people are going to find a way to reply to something in public, especially if they're a celebrity. On Instagram, if you reply to something, you're going to be able to see it in your DMs. You're definitely going to be able to see it in your DMs. I know for me, when someone replies to my stories, I definitely get the notification very quickly. And that's usually said, like I said, via DM. So that one is just like Instagram. And finally, they do not appear in timelines, but they will be accessible on user profiles. This is where I'm kind of feeling iffy because they're saying it might not happen, but something is telling me that it will happen. If there is someone who is a large influencer or someone who is a celebrity, they're going to appear in my timeline. I feel it because when I went to go and follow SZA a very long time ago, a couple more people were recommended for me to follow. And I mean, I don't want you guys to say that I'm feeling that that this is bad for Twitter. In no way, shape, or form am I saying that this is bad for Twitter. Twitter, however, I like this move because I feel like it is a boss move, okay? This is showing, that they're willing to do something to bring more audience in and to show people the lives of celebrities or high influencers or even brands, because a lot of brands use Twitter and that is used to bring in a lot of younger audience. I don't feel like it's bad. What I do find bad is the fact that they're not calling a fleet a story. They're calling it a fleet because of one minor change. That is kind of the only thing that I find bad. But other than that, I do feel like, it's a boss move to put fleets on Twitter profiles to kind of give people a more in-depth look on who that person is, what makes that person different. Okay, so I'm already a fan of SZA, but just knowing who SZA is outside of music makes me want to get to know her a little bit better. When I first started looking at YouTube videos, there was an influencer who said something a very long time ago that I still remember. And they said, if you do not see yourself being that person's friend outside of whatever bring you to their music or their channel or etc., why would you follow them? So just looking at SZA and looking at her personality and, the things that makes SZA SZA and why she decided to choose the name SZA. Who is SZA outside of, just being music? Who are you? She's just a normal, regular person. And outside of this, if she didn't do music, would I still like her? Yes, that's only one question, but that's what I feel like stories do. And in Twitter's case, I feel like that's what Fleets does. So I personally really like that. And, going into that, we're also going to be talking about another app that has decided to add stories to their app, and that is LinkedIn. Coming up, we're going to talk about how LinkedIn is about to change everything.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now, don't bother, what's hot on Netflix, and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
Welcome back. Before the break, we were talking about how Twitter has decided to change up their tactics and add stories to their app. However, they're not being called stories. They're being called fleets. And we were also going to talk about how LinkedIn has decided to add something to their app to better increase audience to businesses. LinkedIn has decided to join the stories trend. LinkedIn has also decided to add stories to their business profiles to distinguish who they are as a company. So each business can go and show different stories on who they are. Really, they are sharing who they are, what they do on a day-to-day basis, why younger professionals should work there, and what they can do for you. So when I first started working, my cousin told me something that stuck with me all throughout my 20s. I'm actually in like my mid-20s, so half of my 20s. And she said, remember, you're interviewing them and they're interviewing you. So this is more of you being able to take in control what business you want to work for and why you want to work for them. This stories tactic is showing audiences, younger audiences, who they are, the values that they have, and why you should consider working there. I know it kind of helps bring control back to you. That way you're not so nervous and scared and wondering, okay, what am I doing? Will I be able to be a right fit? This just brings in a lot more. LinkedIn Stories also brings in brands, that helps them have more opportunities for more businesses, being able to connect more with not only the younger audience, but the older audience as well, especially if they're wanting to have a rebrand. It keeps them up with social media as well as the evolving technology that is going on in today's society. It helps bring in people who are more creative, who are more tech worthy, who knows music, art, everything along those lines. And speaking of technology, TikTok has climbed to the 5th most downloaded app in the United States. And a lot of businesses are also using TikTok to tell their stories. Why? Because TikTok has a bounce rate of about 61%. I know, and that's just about 500 million active users, including Lizzo, Mariah Carey, Will Smith, Reese Witherspoon. All of them are on TikTok. And I wanted to switch gears to TikTok because LinkedIn is doing a great job to kind of mold into that because businesses are starting to use TikTok to bring in younger audiences. A lot of the younger audiences has a very short, I wouldn't say a short attention span, but the engagement is a lot more prone. Why? Because the videos are about a minute to a minute and a half. So here's something about TikTok that not a lot of people know. So TikTok was recently named Musical.ly, and Musical.ly launched in 2014, and it was bought out by ByteDance because those two were very similar. And then after that, the two apps, it kind of had a rebranch, okay? And after that, it just kind of went from there. After their rebranch, it skyrocketed, okay? So TikTok, for those of you who do not know, is an app where you can watch short form films, usually ranging from, like I said, a minute to a minute and a half. They usually are lip syncing, dancing, producing comedy skits, or anything their heart desires, okay? Pay close attention to that. Anything your heart desires. So you have businesses that are going in and they are giving you demonstrations on who they are. And what I've seen lately is fashion videos, beauty tutorials, cooking videos, and hack videos from Sephora. What? And I love saving money. So if anyone comes up to me and they're like, hey, I have a hack on how you can save money at Sephora the right way, I will gladly accept. And that's what these businesses are doing. They are showing you who they are through, like I said, through stories. And now, like I said, through TikTok. So they're showing you who these businesses are, what these businesses can do for you as a consumer, and they're showing you where they're located, and then showing you when is the perfect time to come in, such as hey, Bath and Body Works has a 50% off sale, and then they're zooming in and out because TikTok is all for that. It's such a business boss move. So basically, to me, TikTok is like Vine and YouTube rolled into one with a touch more robots and music. But like I said before, you're obviously going to ask yourself, okay, why is this so popular? What makes TikTok so popular? I need to know what's going on. So there's a lot of different reasons why TikTok is popular. It's new, it's fresh. We love YouTube still, but YouTube is YouTube. Okay. And then Vine was here, but it was missing something. So that's where you have the younger audience that we were saying before. The younger audience is coming in, and they're keeping the people engaged and then doing something totally new. And you also have to look at the demographics as well. The demographics for TikTok is someone between the ages of 16 and 24, which again, I mean, the younger audience that brings in more business, which brings in more revenue. And then that not only for customers, but for employees, and then for the CEO, and so forth and so forth. It climbs the ladder for all of these things. And you can see where stories is starting to come in. You can see where TikTok is doing its thing. The only thing I'm worried about with TikTok is TikTok, I don't want to have the same fate as Vine. And Vine was amazing. When Vine first came out, it was very, very, very popular. And then all of a sudden, it slowly started to die out to where essentially it did just die out. And it was great at what it did. It created a way for people to create influencers for brands, for deals, and it created a way to create a platform on not only Instagram, but on YouTube as well. And I think that is what, in the end, I think that's what TikTok is soon going to do. It's going to create influencers who are going to go into a bigger platform. And pretty soon, it's just going to just go from there. You are going to hear people who you've never heard before, and they're going to become a common name, because businesses are going to start picking them up. They're going to create deals, and they're going to be the brains on a changing society and a changing generation. And that is going to help companies, which is why I feel like TikTok and stories are going to become a main thing, especially on Instagram. But what about earning money just for going on Instagram Live? Instagram just made some changes that may benefit you. Stick around and I'll tell you how right after the break.
Always on the go, but the day just won't be one without your Hollywood fix. Let Golden State Media Concepts Entertainment Podcast take care of that. Jordan and Keith is Entertainment Tonight meets Access Hollywood.
I'm Jordan. The guy laughing, that's Keith.
Yeah, I'm Keith.
An all-inclusive look of pop culture.
Segment, I talked about TikTok and the influence that it's going to have pretty soon over businesses, and how LinkedIn has added business stories to their profiles, and how basically TikTok and stories are going to intermingle and help businesses move on up in profits pretty soon. Before, the break, I was going to talk to you guys about Instagram and how it has announced that pretty soon live videos are going to be monetized. So Instagram has confirmed that it is reaching out to groups of selected creators to participate with a stream of ads on IGTV. For those of you who do not know, IGTV is Instagram television, where people can go on and talk to you guys live, just plain out old live. And with the Corona takeover, many artists have decided to either give a live class on Instagram or give a small concert. Celebrities such as John Legend, who recently put out on Twitter that he was doing a concert on Instagram Live, him and SZA, she decided to do a stretch class, and Justin Bieber and his wife Hailey Bieber, they did a dance challenge. All of this, like I keep saying, was on live. So here is what is going on. If these videos are going to be saved as well as monetized, what's in it for the charts of someone who has a smaller following, but they are on YouTube and they already get monetized on YouTube? What's in it for them? Like, what is their fate? Especially because it's becoming so hard to get monetized. And I'm saying that because on YouTube, you need at least 1,000 subscribers before you can be monetized. And because for right now, Instagram has no idea if they want, what they want the requirement for that individual to be. So here's why I'm saying this. One user had suggested that the requirement be for someone with a verified account or someone who has 10,000 followers. Okay, so if that person has 10,000 followers, will YouTube back down on their monetized requirement? Meaning, would they have the requirement increase? Because Instagram has, like, if this user who suggested that the requirement be someone who has a verified account or someone who has 10,000 followers, if that becomes true, if Instagram agrees and says, hey, your requirement has to be someone who has 10,000 followers, will Instagram say, you know what, that sounds like a great idea. You cannot be monetized unless you have, instead of 1,000 followers, you have to have 10,000 followers. Like, what's in it for what's in it for them? What is the next step? And this could either help influencers or it could greatly hurt influencers, because being monetized is a thing, especially because YouTube has so many requirements. Like, your title has to be named a certain thing and so on and so forth. I don't really want to go into the requirements to be monetized on YouTube. I really wanted to focus on Instagram, which is why I feel like it's good and it's bad. And then you also have to ask yourself, are the followers going to be actual followers? Because there is a way where you can check and see if a person's following is actually a person's following or if they're bots. And that's a total another subject right over there. That's another subject, excuse me. And you also have to ask yourself, how is that going to work? But like I said, it can either hurt influencers or it can help influencers. And this could help not only influencers, but celebrities, and you guessed it, businesses. There are a lot of people, because of this coronavirus, that were left scrambling from canceled industry conferences, meaning that a lot of people had to find a way to get their money back, and find a way to show off this product that no one can see. For many people, it was just left like, I can't do this. I'm out of money now. But with this Instagram saying now that they might save live chats and then they can be monetized, it's about to change everything, because this could bring people in, a newer audience in, or maybe even a total different audience into either an influencer or into a business, because this shows you who these people truly are in the comfort of their own homes. I mean, given we have seen lives from celebrities and high influencers and some businesses before, but this changes everything when you see them in their natural comfort zone. And I mean, it shows a lot about that person, because for me, when I come home and I'm in the comfort of my home, you can visibly see a person who has taken the weight off of their shoulders, and you can see like happiness exude. You can see just a weight of relief, and it's something totally different between seeing, I'm going to talk about a celebrity really quick, but when you see a celebrity on stage versus in the comfort of their own home. Jeannie Aiko, she did like a little dance with Big Sean, I believe last night on Instagram Live, and they were just dancing. And you always see happiness in Big Sean's eyes, but it's something totally different when you see him with someone that he loves, around his friends, in the kitchen, doing something normal, like dancing with his family. It's something totally different. And I feel like that's what Instagram is trying to do. They're trying to show you, okay, here is something that's live. However, you guys, this is something that I do. You have to look at the good side of things, and you also have to look at the bad side of things. I feel like with lives now, I feel like it might not be so genuine anymore, because if they're being monetized and they have to show off a product, what if they don't really like the product? But because the video is being monetized, they kind of have to say, I love this product, which got a lot of heat on YouTube from influencers who would do that. They would say, I love this lotion. It makes all of my troubles go away. I am so smooth and I have sensitive skin and it's amazing. And then they're only doing that for a paycheck. So I think that's something that a lot of people are worrying about. We're at the end of today's show. Stay safe, especially with everything going on. Once again, I am your host, Shamaria Jackson. I would like to thank you for listening to the GSMC Social Media News Podcast, brought to you by GSMC Podcast Network. I would like to take this time to ask that you please remember to subscribe to the show and write a nice review. That really helps us out. Also, if you can, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you, and have a nice day, a good night, and everything in between. Bye, guys.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Social Media Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.